Morning. How we doing? How's it going? Who've we got here? We've got Enzo. Hi, Enzo. Let's get my usual routine. Get my preview window. All right. All right, brilliant. I've been wanting to know about this. Because I was listening to I've heard the new album a few times. It's been out a while. It's very good. So I was having to listen to it the last week. Went to the Intervals VIP Orlando. Got to speak to Aaron and the band last Tuesday. Brilliant. Excellent. Hey. All right, WC, how's it going? So, I think we've got a few things that we need to talk about. So yeah, it's been despite being sort of like off, it's been a very busy week for me. So I've been like working on sort of all the stuff for the landing page. So I've got the text done. I need to get some new photos done. That's sorted. Yeah, intervals are great. And but the thing that has happened is the Patreon page is up. So the Patreon page is now up and you can go and see it, and the link is in the description. So if you go to the description and you see that, it's there now. The only thing with Patreon is I can't see, and I ticked the box, right? There should be, I mean, I can't see it, but there should be a free option to join. If not, I'm onto it. I have sent them like a message saying we need a free option. But basically, there are two things that you can get into a month on it. So one is, if you want to support the channel, it's $4 a month if you want to do that, which would be amazing. So if you're just supporting the channel for what it is, that's $4 a month. Having said that, if you watch the video and you read the manifesto that I put up, the promise or whatever it's called, if you read that, that'll tell you more about what the aim is. There's a very, very clear aim now for this channel, right? And it's all up on there. There's also a video which I'd watch as well, an about video. Yeah, happy you checked out the Intervals album. I won't make a fuss about it now, but we can talk later. I've missed a lot with you this week. Happy to hear about Patreon, by the way. Yeah, so just if you can go and check it out, either join for free or support the channel, that would be amazing, because it would be great if this channel made a little bit of an income. That would be pretty good. So I put it at $4, which I thought would be pretty reasonable considering what everybody's going to get out of it. WC, funny, I just met Killswitch Engage a couple of weeks ago. Really cool guys. Huge fan of the Intervals. Very good taste. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they are very good. There's another... Is it like Locker Room Heroes or something like that? There's another, like, it's a band with like a singer. Similar sort of styles to Intervals. In fact, Aaron did like a solo, like a feature for them. I think they're a really good band. Very underrated. But anyway, I think it's something like that. Or Hometown Heroes or something like that. Hometown Heroes, Locker Room Heroes, something. I can't quite remember the name, but they've got an amazing singer. Right, what was I saying? Right, we're talking about Patreon. So there are a couple of tiers on there. So tier 1 is basically the channel. And tier 2, what that's about is one-to-one coaching. Sorry, I'm trying to read this as one talk to you at the same time. I've been learning guitar, new album on the guitar, great riffs, yeah. Just learned those and I'm awake recently. Cool. All right. Okay, so tier 1, support the channel. Tier 2, I'll try not to get distracted with the chat. Tier 2 is one-to-one coaching. All right. So that's $75. And I should put another tier up for guitar lessons, which would be similar to tier 1, but are you into Troy Grady cracking the code? Kicking methods. I haven't heard of the kicking methods, but I'm very into Troy Grady. Picking methods. I knew what you meant. Picking methods, yes. In fact, when we're talking about Troy Grady's picking methods, when I got back into shredding, one of the first things I kind of started doing, bit of a story here, was working on my alternate picking. So I was pretty good alternate picker. But just the classic, there's this one story that he talks about, and it is the ascending but descending groups of 6 on the E and B string that Vinnie Moore does, right, for the Coca-Cola advert. And I used to spend like all of my life trying, back in the day, not all my life, but I used to spend ages trying to sort that lick out, and it's really, really difficult because basically it's an inside motion. Outside wasn't ever really cutting it for that lick. It's an inside motion to do those groups of 6s ascending, and I could never ever work it out. And then suddenly Troy Grady bursts onto the scene, talking about the guitar player, like guitar picking, like an engineering project, which I thought was like really interesting, and the mechanics of it, which it is. It's just like fixing an engine, isn't it? Getting your picking motion and your two hands synchronizing together. It's like fixing an engine of a car, really. But I thought it was, I really liked that clinical approach. So anyway, he basically slowed the video down, as we all did, and he investigated, and then he found out that obviously there's this slanting motion that actually happens. So on that inside and outside motions, you have an upward or a downward slant, depending. And that's how basically Vinnie Moore did it. So I think WC are probably there, like on one of the previous lives, I had a camera actually on my guitar, and I was doing the picking angles. So it absolutely, just the Troy Grady stuff massively improved my playing. And then what I realized, I thought, okay, well, I've got an inside, because I ended up with quite a strong inside motion, which is really good, but I was still struggling to play odd groups of notes. And that's when I switched just temporarily. What I would do is I would just use a little bit of economy motion in my picking and just cheekily kind of swipe across a couple of strings, a bit like how Joe Bonamassa would do it. And then I thought, right, okay, this sort of economy sort of thing's pretty good. And then I started using it. The next thing I did was I started using it for 3 notes per string, but descending runs. Like everybody finds descending runs, and I remember Thomas doing a video on it, why descending runs really hard, and everybody finds them really hard, right? So then the way actually round that is just then economy pick the whole thing. So then I just started economy picking descending runs, and then I realized, right, why don't I just do everything economy picking? And that's what I did. And the advantage of that is, when I'm playing, because I love improvising, the whole technical aspect is much more invisible. I'm thinking about what I'm playing, the notes I'm playing, unless I'm daydreaming. I'm thinking a lot less about that. and I'm thinking more about the notes that I'm actually playing. So that's the real advantage that I get. It's just like it's effortless, and you get, as Frank and Barley will say, it's like you get just way more headroom in your speed. You don't need all the facility and all the speed that you get from economy picking. It's just suddenly you get more headroom. Another thing to consider about economy picking is that it's not like this kind of bridgeway between alternate picking and legato. It's all of that, right? It has, like, for me, I have a bigger dynamic range with economy picking than I ever had with alternate picking, and way more control, so it can sound really aggressive and very, very sort of accurate, like alternate picking. And it can also sound like a bit of a blur if you want. So it has a great sort of dynamic range as well. But the things that you have to be good at is planting and displacement are the two keywords here for that. Do you think speed was more of an issue back in the day when instructional videos weren't as common and people couldn't decipher the pick as easy? Slanting wasn't spoken about in old material. Yeah, and I think it was just it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, because there's literally only Troy Grady who actually has looked at it, weirdly enough. So I'll imagine there would be lots of people like me trying to slow the video down and trying to watch that blurred VHS tape of Vinnie Moore's hand trying to play that. Definitely speed was a big thing in the 80s, with like lots of people sounding terrible doing it, and few people sounding great doing it, definitely. But I think a lot of the time, people just, through trial and error, like this is the other thing, like Troy Grady says, is like a lot of the players that he interviews on there have these techniques dialed in, and it just naturally happened. They saw there was a problem there and they actually managed to work it out. It's just with me, I wasn't smart enough to kind of fully work it out and commit to a particular method to try and like overcome the inside motion, but nobody talked about inside motion. In fact, yeah. In fact, I think there was a Paul Gilbert. I remember a Paul Gilbert article in Guitar World that talked about it, and then you just had these two notes and got you to play inside and outside, but there was no mention about picking angles. Hi Stelly from Perplexity. Hi Stelly from me. Stelly saying hi to Enzo. First video I had was No Boundaries by Michelangelo Boucher. I picked up slanting, but found speed takes me time to build up. Yeah, I think Michael, and he has such a strange picking technique. It's a law unto himself, but obviously the mechanics are, the pick's still going to go up and down. It still has to be angled, doesn't it? Mate, we get a lot out of those old videos because that's all we had. Absolutely. That is all we had. And God, I made the most out of it. That and my tape machine. Old stuff was nice because it focused you to use ears. Absolutely. I mean, that's been a big thing that's been mentioned, isn't it? And I've heard, Paul Gilbert hit the nail on the head in an interview because, like, the main advantage was, we had all these records and tapes. So I would put everything onto a tape so I could fast forward and rewind. I'd have my tape recorder, and I would just spend hours playing, rewinding, using my ears and trying to approximate, what the riffs were. And the good thing that can happen out of that is you come up with your own way of playing them. like maybe not the same, but that's how you develop your style. You develop your style from not quite learning 100% correctly the thing you were trying to play from somebody else. Oh, look, there's Sean. So, and then just another advert. The Patreon is up and running. It's in the link is in the description. So somebody do check it out, because I want to know if the free option is on there, because I've emailed them. I couldn't get it working despite doing what I was told to do. So I've had to email Patreon. But there is the 2 tiers. Tier 1 is to support the channel for $4. Do support the channel for $4. And then there's a coaching option as well as one-to-one coaching, which I highly recommend. And there's a very heartfelt video as well to watch. I did. Great. Yeah, for days. I remember it. It's incredible, isn't it? Obviously, we don't do that now. We're sitting. A lot of it's like watching with your eyes, isn't it? And recognizing patterns, and then using your ears. You know, it's totally different now. It's eyes and ears instead of just ears. And then when you saw the play, it was like, wow, this is so amazing. God, yeah. Yeah. So what else I was going to say? So the Patreon site is up. The one-to-one, just to be clear, the one-to-one coaching option on there, because I wanted to keep the Patreon for now a little bit more coachy. There will be potentially a guitar lesson option up there, but it'll be the same price. So thing with the coaching is that if you're kind of like, oh, I'm not sure about time, I don't necessarily want to commit to the coaching program to be in a group, but you know, I am writing music and I'm having a little bit of difficulty, and rather than sitting here and working it out with my own head and then not knowing if what I'm going to do is going to work or not, then at that point, coming along and, you know, spending $75 on a coaching session is real value for money, because it's going to save you a ton of time. And like one of the reasons like that I progress rapidly in things that I do, right, is simply because I'll just go to a coach or I'll go to a teacher to get the knowledge that I need to get. If I think, right, I'm not really sure here, there's a number of options here and it's going to cost me X amount of time. It's a bit like counselling. If I go for a lesson with Rick Graham, then I need to talk to somebody who has that experience and try and understand what they did. And then I can make a judgment on basically based on what I'm going to do. So, I mean, when I go, they end up like coaching me, not really actually realising that they're coaching, to be fair. So something like that would save you a lot of time. And that coaching is across the board for everything. Okay, so music business, like, you know, being an artist and getting paid, the money side. In fact, if you think of if you think of my coaching program and like what I do, the whole thing, it's split into 3 areas really, and that's basically music, money, and mindsets. There's 3 things that I'll coach into. So you know, you can book in and we can talk about any one or all of those things. But if you're not sure, next week, really, we're going to officially start the program, okay? So I've got an idea of how I'm going to structure things, okay? Now, I'm hoping everybody's up for a Monday morning, because I thought Monday morning can be, that's going to be the morning session, right? So it's still going to be the morning sessions. Morning session, that's going to be the sort of motivational side of things. There's still obviously going to be all the music making, guitar playing, and all the good stuff still going to be there. And there's still going to be room just to freestyle and do our thing. And if we want to get off topic, we can do that, because let's face it, most of the time what you say is more interesting what I've got to say on my agenda. And it's great when people have got stuff in the chat and I can respond to it, and it becomes a bit of a conversation. But what we're going to do is we're going to start on Monday, and really we're going to work through what I call the conditions for success. Okay, sounds a bit funny, conditions for success, doesn't sound like very rock and roll, does it? But there's no other way to really kind of say it. And I think the reason I'm going to start with this first, right, on a Monday, and I think what we'll do is we'll do one condition a month, okay? And this will involve music making as well, all right? But when we think of the conditions of success, right, there's about 7 areas, potentially 8 when I think about it, okay? And the first one that we're going to be doing is like habits, building a habit, because I thought out of all the things, you know, how should the order actually be? And it doesn't matter how chaotic your life is, right? A lot of people think, all right, I can't start making music, or can't start doing this thing now because like my studio's a mess, I've not really set it up, you know, it's all a bit chaotic, right? But actually the best thing to do is, you know, not worry about those things and hypothetically get them in order before the activity starts. The best thing to do is actually to just start. That's what you have to do. You just have to start the very, very thing. Because why do we want to do that? Is simply if we start making music, if we start playing our guitars, if we start doing whatever we're going to do, because you can use these conditions for success. It's a mindset thing, right? So you can apply this technically to any area of your life. You know, I started applying it to every part of my life, and my career skyrocketed. Like seriously, it was like brilliant. I was just so much more focused and so much more clear on everything that I was doing. You know, things worked out very, very well. And and I think the other thing is we're always talking about like the next brilliant thing, the next sort of plug-in, the next sort of guitar lick, right? Learning these things, and that's all great. But it's like, what are we going to do with this stuff, right? What's the connection? What does this mean to me? And what can I get it to mean to the world? Okay, and that's why conditions of success are so important. So if we look at habits, you know, we'll do a month of habits. And then because like, you know, things will be pretty awkward, you'll start making music. Hopefully people who are on the channel who aren't making a lot of music, or people who are making a bit of music, like, right, I'm really motivated, I'm going to hit this hard. You'll run into a ton of problems, and then that's when things get interesting because we can solve them. So like the next month's going to be environment, and that's going to be really interesting because what I want to do is I want to get people to put pictures up of the studio on Discord, or if you don't want to do that, you can email them and stuff like that. So I'm interested in seeing your setups and things like that, and somebody wants to volunteer, we can critique their area and see how, you know, in line with their style, see how things can be, you know, tweaked. But, you know, environment is really, really important, isn't it? Getting your environment right and having, you know, I've talked about it many times on here, having all of the tools. I'm not hiding these are pics, so I'm using those. Just didn't like the look of them. Just having the tools pretty much that you're only going to use, you know. So I have all my Kiesel guitars out because like the Kiesel guitars, and I'm endorsed by them, so they've got to be there. But apart from that, I think most things that you'll see in here are just to do with the thing that I'm doing at the time. I don't have any other I don't have anything else that's distracting, put it that way. So, you know, environment's a really important one. Decisions, you know, like, God, there's so much stuff I can say about decisions, insight, analysis, how we can use them to get leverage in the studio. And these conditions of success, right, okay, are all the things that we don't often think about. All right, these are all the supporting things around an artist that get a lot of the time ignored. Because we're always skill focused. We're always wanting to play the next lick or the next song, or we're not actually thinking about the other areas that actually support the skills functionality. So yeah, and then we've got things like fear. So there'll be people who come on here who are, thinking about, if you're thinking about releasing music, or you might have even nearly finished something, and it's like you've never finished it because it's just on the last little bit because it's never quite right. It's not perfect, but it's probably ready to go, but you're just procrastinating on it. Then, fear is definitely an area to work into. So we'll be working about fear. It might be, I always mention releasing music, but actually, my focus for the last while now has been getting over my own fear by running this channel. And I've done some horrendous lives, and it was all part of that kind of growth mechanism, getting up here, trying to entertain people for an hour and absolutely sucking, and sometimes not having anything to say, or just making you watch me in the studio and then feeling really sort of self-conscious about. So I've been through all of that, I've just, because I know what it is, I know that exposure will help me. So, exposure's the thing for fear, isn't it? A lot of the time. So we'll be looking at fear. So if you want to set up, a lot of you guys out there playing guitar, it might be that you're thinking, what, I really want to get on there. I want to do Twitch streams. I want to do the YouTube thing. Then, this channel's going to help you with that. There'll be lots of support and advice. And I'm even thinking about a separate kind of coaching program for sort of doing the live sort of setup, not content, but just setting up for a live. So that's another thing, but we can cover most of that anyway for free, or for your $4 on Patreon. But really, you have access to all the information you want, really, just sort of coming on here and putting something in the chat, and then causing a discussion. But yeah, fear's a big one. Fear, I can talk about it for ages, when I think about, because this channel has been, to actually go from being almost no personality, because then just getting back to my personal, it's really weird, isn't it? This is how I normally am in real life, right? And then suddenly all of that, it was I got hit on the head, and then all of that's gone. And then you have to work to get back to where you were, to get that feeling of just being in your own house or talking to your best friends on the camera takes a while, and it's all that fear thing, isn't it? It's mad. So fear, boredom. Oh God, right, boredom. There's lots I can say about boredom. So boredom will be another area usually overlooked, where we're just spinning our wheels and we don't know what to do next. This is a big area, because actually the route to success really is actually just knowing what you're going to do next, whether it's right or wrong, and actually doing it. I think the only time we get into trouble really is if we don't do anything, because basically we become reactive, and if you become reactive, other people make decisions for you. It's not your decision. You get pulled along into scenarios you're not really into. That would be the work kind of version of it. Worst case scenario for us as artists, if nothing happens, nothing happens, and that is it. And then we just fizzle away and die, and we don't want that. So boredom, we'll be looking at boredom. Community will be a big one. So community is just engaging with your tribe, building a tribe, finding an audience, finding, I hate the word niche, but when we're talking about a musical niche, how do you then write music that is just slightly different, that kind of gets you sort of noticed, When I did dance music, I was in the masses with that. I would like to say I could definitely hear me, and I could definitely hear a slight difference, but McRocklin and Hutch had a much bigger impact because we were in a smaller genre, a very sort of niche genre, and a genre that allowed you to actually, which I realised that sort of in synthwave, you can make everything a wave, and I could bring in other genres and 85 them. And 85, wish I could say it. I'm trying to make a word up now and it's not working out. I could add that 80s sound to different sort of genres, sub-genres I was using in the dance world, and bring it in. And then with the shred guitar as well, we had shredwave, and we were pretty much kind of to the scale that we're doing it in our own little thing, in our own little sub niche. And if you like that, people are interested in it, and it gained interest. And we got on playlists. There was never ever McRocklin Hutch, never ever did we ever pay onto a playlist. It was simply all organically driven. So like Jagar just for some reason spiked people's interest, and it just shot up, like, you know, rapidly overnight. And we've had a few tracks like that, you know, and then getting on some Mr. Suicide Sheep, getting onto some decent playlists, you know. You know, I mean, it's mad when I think about it. Like, I mean, I've been on a playlist with like BT, and I remember listening to him and marveling at his music, going, "Wow, that's amazing! How technical!" He's like the shred of music production in a way, or was at the time. But anyway, I digress. And what was I talking about? Community. Oh, and then there's one other thing, like how to focus. So we will have to do something on how to focus, and that'll probably happen after. That'll probably happen at the same time as environment. So we might do focus and environment at the same time. Because I wasn't sure if I was going to have, because it's all about focusing, but I think there's some like kind of housekeeping rules that you have to do to keep you sort of focused. So I'm kind of rehashing that part of our conditions for success. But in short, right, that's what you're getting for free. And I think like one of the things about these conditions is I've never, when you come into the coaching group is all about sort of the system that I have, which I've now kind of rebranded as well. So, you know, you have at the time what I would call the automatic music making machine. Now I'm bouncing ideas about, we've got the producer's forge and things like that. But anyway, it's the same thing basically. So like the coaching program which you come into, where you're in a group of 4, right? Basically when you're in that, you're basically learning or using this. I wouldn't say learning. You're using this system because you already know the system, because instinctively we're actually just using the whole thing about the coaching program is it's just using what you instinctively already have as a human being, okay? And that is that process of creativity, the divergent, convergent thing. So if you think about it, we love ideas and go crazy with them, and then you've got to like commit to something and sort it out, and then that's the convergent side. Like all the machine's doing is kind of mirroring this, but what it's doing is it's doing it modular, and it's very specific to when you're writing music. So, you know, you would, you know, if we're splurging, we're writing music, and we don't care, we're going to splurge, yeah. Creating ideas, you know, it's a decision splurging. And then, you know, we get into discovery, you know, we're finding out what the music, or explore, we're going to find out what that music is all about. Drafting, trying to sort out what the arc is, what's the maximum leverage of how we can say what we're saying over time. Done is just waiting to decide on whether we want to release it or not. Release is doing the final, whatever you got to do to sort it out. So that's the system you kind of learn, but it's actually just using naturally what already sort of kind of exists. So on the coaching program, there's kind of new games to play and stuff like that. So if you've been on it before, it's well worth rejoining the game, because there's like lots of cool new stuff that I'm doing as well with that. So it's a good one. The other thing with the coaching is I'm just like from sort of the next couple of months as well, I'm dropping the price down to just $200. It used to be $200. It's $200, right? Now, you come on the program, right, and you think, this has never happened, right? Okay. But if you come on the program and you think this just isn't for me because I wanted to come on here and I wanted to learn how to EQ a kick drum, right? Like it's not the bulk of the isn't that. When we get to the release stage, I do a lot of mixing stuff, and like things like EQing a kick drum, I'll just do on ear. It's not like to me that knowledge how to EQ something or how to use a reverb, right? It's great stuff, but it's like it's almost like not worthless, but not something I would want to like charge as a bulk of what my program is. It's just knowledge. I mean, the whole thing that's missing, right, is like applying these things, isn't it, to your own individual unique style or developing your own unique style. So that's why I'm happy just kind of giving stuff away for free, because yes, you know, people like that kind of thing. How to EQ a kick drum, like, you know, it's like, why do they want to do that? It's like they're convinced that that's like a silver bullet, right? This is like in the dance world, and if they have that kick drum, that amazing kick drum, that's going to solve all the problems, and it's not, you know? It's like building the rest of the track, forging a career for yourself is like the main game. But people obsess about it. Seriously, people do obsess about it. It's ridiculous. Me, I'll just give you the knowledge. I've been there. You can have the knowledge. Having said that, I do when there's like a group skill deficit, I will address it in very, very deep detail in the studio and go through mixes, and I will use somebody else's track as an example. So that's always worth doing, but that, you know, it's not something I'm going to ever do on the live here, somebody's track, and then do it. That's something you're only going to see like if you join the coaching program. But to be fair, most people, like by the time they get to the end, they know what they're doing. I've never, you know, I mean, yeah, they tend to know. So there tends to be very little fixes at the end regarding mixing. In fact, I think if anything, it's always like down to compositional things. It'll be compositional problems that affect people doing a mix, you know, like so having basses doubled up in the same register and things like that, and not having enough like harmonic separation in a track. You know, like those are the kind of things I'll see, as opposed to like having to get like an EQ out and like hack loads of a mix out. So yeah, so that's sort of the conditions for success, and we're going to start with that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing in other sort of music production things and ideas in with that, okay? And I think what we'll do is we'll be doing, you know, things like idea explosions, getting lots of ideas together and how we can process them. So we'll be doing a very vague sort of machine-like thing, but you won't get the detail that you will sort of on the coaching program. And then the other thing is that we'll be doing, so there'll be music production, there'll be a music production thing, and, you know, I can relate what I'm doing to the machine, etc. Okay? So we'll be starting some sort of machine. Now, I'm in two minds on whether to do this, whether I give, what I suggest everybody does, and it's free, right? I'll do a separate thing about this actually this week. But what I want is, I want everybody to download Trello. You don't have to pay for it. The free version works fine for what we're doing, right? But I want everybody to then start their own machine, okay? And what I'll do is, over a period of time, we'll just work through each column, okay? So, and I think we'll do it like just build a column, so we'll add a column, and then we'll learn how to process things from sort of like the splurge, the idea creation phase, yeah? And then we'll just add the columns as we go along. But as I say, you won't get like the kind of games that I play, but you're going to get a lot of info with that. So we've got the conditions of success. We've got sort of the making music side of things, and obviously, like, you know, you can use the Trello boards in the system for like anything as well. It's not just for music, so you can kind of take the system, divergent, convergent thinking. And you can apply that to like other things that you're doing, building a house, doing your garden, you know, that kind of thing. I'm going to catch up on the chat now. So here we go. I have to redo my environment a few times a year. Right. Oh, well, that's interesting. I would say from the outside looking in, you should consider a podcast as a Patreon feature. Yeah, I think that could be a thing. However, I've got another thing I want to do. I always try to crack jokes and help you break out of your shell, but don't worry, I come across the wrong way. No, you don't. Enzo, you're fine. I've thought about the podcast. I'm not really sure about it's not like if I do anything right, like three things I don't do that I should do, right, is because when I'm talking about sort of my coaching, the thing, because it's all like it tends to work out just word of mouth, right? But the things I haven't done, I haven't got a landing page, right? And I was always like a bit weird about the Patreon, but I thought, well, we'll give Patreon a go. And I haven't done like a Patreon to support the channel, right? Because I was only focused on the coaching business, really. But anyway, I've done that bit now. Landing page is on its way. And then the other thing is I've never bothered much with making YouTube content, but I'm not so fussed about that now. So I think what I'm going to do coming up is like there'll be some sort of like content as well. And I think I'm going to have to do that because I think one of the problems we're going to hit with doing things how I'm planning to do them is that people will have to go back to the lives and it'll be too long for them to watch and they'll miss bits and they'll just like everybody's attention span's gone. So what I'm going to try and do is just get all the main points down into just a talking head, me like this, right? And just, so if we're doing habits next week, then I'm going to have to make a video now on habits that week, blah, 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 habits of this, but I can use the live and the feedback that I get from the chat, that'll inform, those points will inform the content video. So I'll have to make that video. And this will get me moving because, when I'm talking about the fear kind of thing, I sit on the YouTube thing and I think, coaching thing's all right at the minute. I don't really have to do that, but I should be doing that. So I'll, endeavor to, when we're doing habits next week, do a habits YouTube video and not worry about the quality or how bad it is because it's specifically for the community. Okay. So Enzo, all right, yes, thank you, super chat, woohoo. And you've been a very great friend, always helping me to stay motivated and focused. Happy to be here for the next chapter. Yes, and it's gonna be fun. Right, I don't need that. All right, Stelly. What's that again, please? What to download? Didn't hear properly. All right, yeah. Just like Trello. So, now, so when you're doing Trello, so remember, you'll not have all the games, so you're going to have to use it yourself. But the main, right, if you start a Trello board just with like the rough outline of how I do things, okay, like the minimum thing you're going to get from it, right, is you're going to get an overview of where all of the music that you're working on in process is in a creative, where it is creatively, okay, in its journey. So, if you've got like an idea, so you might have like in your board, you'll have a few ideas in draft and you might have a few ideas in discovery, right? So you can see, or you might have some ideas in release. So some days you might wake up and you think, oh, you know what, I don't feel like doing any super creative, like making new ideas. I need to do some more release stuff. So you can do some release stuff, and that's really handy because if you're limited for time and you're doing more release things, like with release music, it might be just mixing. So you'll have a list of like actions that you're going to do, and those actions, some of them are only going to take a few minutes to do. So if you're short of time, you can just go, I'll do some release sessions, and you've got like, if I've got 10-15 minutes, I can do, I can EQ a kick drum, turn a snare down, turn the vocal up, and that's a session, that's a move forward. You can cross those things off, and you can pick, and it's amazing how time builds up, and how much time the system will just save you just by doing that, Sometimes you'll think, I don't want to do anything like that. I want to rebel. I'm gonna do some splurging. Or you think, oh God, you know what? I've got too many discoveries here. I need to start moving some ideas on. You're gonna start, there's an idea that I have, and I'm really excited about it, and you'll have that urge to do that discovery session. So it naturally goes with the flow of being a human being, right? Is what I find. And I've coached thousands of people on this, right? And I've never, nobody's complained. All the time I've been coaching coaching in my own business, I've used that system, and it's been obviously, some people think, oh no, they freak out sometimes, but then when they get it, how it works, and then they see the benefits, that's it, they're all in. But the main reason I think people struggle with the whole creative process, like anything we do, is simply because we don't know what the future is, and it's that uncertainty, and there's no help anybody can give you or any system. You're always going to have uncertainty, but you can make certain things that you thought were uncertain certain, and I'm definitely all in on that, and I definitely specialize in on that. All right, okay. All right. Yeah. But my main focus this week's been incorporating video software. Very good. Enzo, are you going to go live? I'm interested to know now. So if we all get Trello, I think that's going to massively help, and get that installed. Then you've got that to work through. And then anybody who's wanting to join coaching group, it's now $200. Oh, and the other thing I need to add to that, and that's for the month, and it's a 2-hour session with me every week, okay, in a group of 4. 2 hours a week in a group of 4, and there are 2 groups to join, okay? You're really trying to go live, Timmy. Okay. It's a hard game to go live. I mean, when you think about it, having, because I wanted a functioning studio and to go live, it's like, you got to have sort of. I mean, if you just get studio wanting to do video too. All right, so I mean, it's quite easy to go live, because all you do, if you just want it done for you, you do what I do, right? So the easiest way is just to get Ecamm, and then just stick a camera in front of you and push go live on Ecamm, schedule it, and go. That's it. Done. And then just, when you have your camera, just try and, I mean, all I did is I had to get, I sat in it for so long, I ended up having to get COVID to actually work it out. So I was isolated in this basement board. That's why I did it. And I just got my camera and I just moved it about the studio till I found a sort of background that naturally looked good, and then that was it. I just built around that, and literally the camera angle hasn't changed much, except we can get more in because I've got a bigger lens now. But I can't really, in terms of what it is now, I can't really improve much on it. It's just incrementally, unless I go to a different room. So I wouldn't worry about that. Video streaming software, there's a few, OBS, yeah, and then there's the free version. So OBS is very good. There's probably more options, but I think it's harder to set up because I had OBS and I was like, oh, this is like really difficult. And then it was suggested to get Ecamm, which was a guy who was coaching me, Mike, was using that, and I thought, oh well, that's a lot easier. Yeah. But actually, once you get into it, it's really, really painfully simple. It's like very easy to work. You know, that's a good point. More problematic on a Mac. Yeah, okay, so I mean, learning to make a presentable YouTube videos is what I mean mainly. Yeah, okay. So again, like Enzo, it might be that you want to book in for a one-to-one coaching session with that, because I can certainly sort of help you with all of that. You know, that would be something. It's so bespoke to your situation, like what's happening in your room, and you know, and then what content do you want to cover? It's quite massive, and probably too much to put on a chat, on a live, but really interesting. And it's brilliant that you're thinking about doing this. I just started learning Filmora, right? DaVinci Resolve. I use Final Cut. And when I do my YouTube shorts, right, I just use CapCut, and I can just knock videos out really, really quickly on that, really fast on CapCut. It's a really great tool. So anyway, and again, so the Patreon site's up. So we know on a Monday we're going to be doing some sort of mindset thing. Now, next week, right, and this is important, that when you turn up for a Monday stream, I know some of you are in the car or whatever, or you're driving or you're at work, or what I would like, just make sure you've got a pen and paper, right? Because next week, right, and this is really important, and I'll remind everybody in the description, next week we are going to do a free write. I've done a similar free write before, but if you remember, like, we're working in 3 areas: music, money, mindset. I'm going to do a free write on each one of these areas, okay? Each free write is about 5 minutes long, and I want everybody to do it, okay? If you don't do it and you're too busy or whatever, and you just got me on in the background listening, go back, okay? Because this won't be as content, right? Go back and then actually do the exercise, because it's really, really important, because as we're focusing on sort of like habits, what I want to know really is, what are we trying to do? I mean, like, what's the overall thing? Why are we doing what we're doing? Why am I picking a guitar? Why we're buying lots of guitars, right? Why we're getting video cameras, right? Why we got studio gear and not using it and doing these things, right? And sometimes it's just a lack of clarity to bring all of these things together. So I've got a free write that's going to really, really help people, and it's really dedicated to knowing what you want, okay? Because when you know what you want, right, everything else can then just synchronize to something, can't it, when you think about it? So that's what the free write is about, and it's so important, right? Like, just like doing the free write is going to give you so much clarity. And it'll be interesting and have little discussions and things like that on it. I don't need to know what you've written. You don't share it. It's just, that's your thing. Obviously, elements that you can discuss about it, you can discuss, right? But the free write is really, really important. So we'll be doing that. And then I think what I'd like people to do is, I need to work out on the website. At some point, you'll do a perfect average day as well. So that's another like thing to do, perfect average day, which I've talked about. So I'll be doing prompts for that. And it might be, I wonder how many words you can get into the chat. Anyway, I'll set up a download link, right? That's what I'll do. There'll be a download link to my Dropbox. And what I'll do is I'll put in the prompts for that, okay? For the perfect average day. But again, that's just describing the best day ever of how you want to live your life from now till when you, drop off the end of the world. But again, very, very important because for me, perfect average day just kind of primed my subconscious into me kind of just using and all the resources that I had that would help me like achieve what I was achieving. I always tell the story about the White House and the White Rooms, and I describe, because part of it is like describe where you are and all this sort of stuff. And so I described the White House and the studio with white stone walls in a basement, in like an underground thing. And sure enough, like, a year or so later, we ended up moving in here, and it's a White House. And I didn't realize that till actually I went back and looked at my perfect average day. Now, studio in here, that brick wall's real half brick, by the way. It's not a picture. But this is like, everything else is like plasterboard, and then the electricity meter is behind plasterboard there with a hatch. And when you move that hatch, it's got the original stone wall that's actually painted white. So it was all a bit weird, that. But it's amazing how the subconscious gets primed. Free and paid version. And so I use it, and I'm very happy with it. Awesome for my needs. Give it a try. So, right, so there's two things going on here. Is DaVinci Resolve, you can't live stream with that. That's just video editing, isn't it? Because like Enzo's talking about, or am I missing something here? Or as Enzo, you're talking about two things, editing and going live. Because what I would do is I would pick one. I'll tell you what's interesting though. Whenever I do make content, I use Ecamm as the front end to create any sort of like YouTube video. It's really cool because I have a record and pause button here, and I can even assign it to my foot switch. So like if you're talking to the camera and you forget what you're saying, you can just tap your foot and then pause the video where you're at, so while you think, and then you can start it again. All right, okay, yeah. So DaVinci is really good. Like, it's free, isn't it? It's like an industry's free standard. But yeah, no. So Enzo live streaming, book in for a session. Funny how things manifest sometimes. It is. I mean, that was yeah, really weird. And the other thing about, I mean, obviously, like, I'm sure some of you will have experienced this, is when you start making music and you start putting music out, like, just other things start to happen in your life, But, I've always said this, like, music's worthless, but in terms of recorded music, digitized music, streaming platforms is pretty much worthless, right? Next to worthless. It's not like a job, right? I mean, it can be, but for most of us, it's not. You're not gonna, it's a supplement. It'll buy you some gear. You might get your family on holiday, with the money. But other than that, it's just worthless, because what it is worth is, though, the thing that makes it worthy is the opportunities it brings, because at that point, when you're putting music out there, you become an artist, don't you? And that's interesting to the world. And, that's when you start getting brand deals and endorsements and things like that, and running coaching business and School of McRock and all these things kind of happen and come together through that. So the opportunity, and it just validates you. Right. How we're getting on? I'm trying to think about whatever things, because there's a lot really sort of to get through. So we've got, so the Monday is the focus. There'll be a day where we do a guitar lesson. There'll be a day where we're going to do something creative. And then there'll be a day where it's just usual kind of me just getting on and shredding. Because I'm going to do a vertical stream on a Wednesday night. That's important because that's actually been quite beneficial. I've been working on the vertical stream setup actually, and I've got now a screen share on sort of Ableton, so I can do that. It's not, if I want to do something more where people want to see the studio and I can get plugins up and show people stuff, that's going to be on there as well, so that's pretty cool as well. So vertical stream will happen on a Wednesday evening, on just one of those in the week. But it's really good for sort of boosting the channel presence, because you get on the live feed, and when you look at the numbers, there's like way more there. No, I'm not. I mean, last week I was on holiday. I'm back to my usual regime now, so I'm back on basically 6 o'clock UK time. So there's been lots of I've said a few interesting things today, Hippie. So it'd be worth, if you've just come on now, it might be worth you just going back and like listening through today's episode, today's broadcast, because I've been talking about a number of things about what's going to happen on the channel and what have you, and there's a bit more of a structure. Did you go to the town more with the crowds, Tim? No, I didn't. You know what I did? I stayed in, and I did my intro video, my about video for my Patreon. That's what I did. I could hear it all happening, but I didn't. I was literally like in here all weekend doing stuff. So that's the other thing. So if you've, anybody who's just come on here, the Patreon site, check it out. The link's in the description. I'm not sure about the join free option. It should be on there. Has anybody gone on now? Is the join me free option there? If not, you can support the channel on Patreon. What I'm doing here for $4. Hi Jeff, how you doing? How's it going? Jeff, I think you're a singer, aren't you? If I believe rightly. And I think you've got an amazing voice. I think so, if memory serves me right. Okay. Nice. A nice practical man, I like it, yeah. Good, thanks. Excellent. Well, it's good to see you on here. I don't know if you've subscribed or not, but it'd be, do feel free to subscribe. So, yes, so the Patreon thing is there. The coaching group is there. I know I keep going on about it like a broken record. We've got the free guitar lesson thing happening. We've got free music making. We're going to have a session where we can just talk about a Q&A like now. So, I think that's about me kind of exhausted everything, but I have been working very, very hard on, I hate the word, sort of kind of setting up content, and I am looking really forward to the start. I wouldn't say launch, but starting everybody. So this is really important. We need to fix this in our minds, right? That Monday next week will be the start of what I'm doing here, and on Monday you need a pen and paper, because we're going to do free writing. I'll explain what free writing is, right? Just for anybody here who doesn't know what it is. Like, free writing is like an amazing thing, right? Because what you're trying to do when you're free writing is you're trying to explore possibilities, right? And we have like a number of layers of thinking that goes on, right? We have like the conscious thinking, which is great. So sometimes, if you're playing, when you're improvising guitar, all right, sometimes we're doing the muscle memories things or the conscious thinking or the really playing the really obvious things. But then when we kind of really get into the moment and we get lost in it all, that's when we start taking risks and going absolutely wild, right? And we're in flow. And what we're doing there is we're pulling from a much bigger resource. We're pulling from the subconscious. Now, what free writing does is it allows us to problem solve, not just by exhausting the conscious thinking and then kind of breaking down into the subconscious, and then making the subconscious thoughts conscious and then acting on those. And this is the same when we're making music. This is why I absolutely love the whole kind of splurge in making music without judgment, because what we're trying to do, okay, is we're trying to get through that conscious layer of thinking, the really obvious stuff, right? And then get down into where we feel much more relaxed, into the subconscious, and make those things conscious. And that's how we come up with really great ideas, amazing things. And sometimes you'll have a writing session and then you'll come back to it and you'll think, wow, is that me? I don't even recognize me. Where did that come from? And it's from that wealth of the subconscious, because our brains are just soaking everything in, aren't they? And then when it becomes conscious, we can then repurpose it to whatever kind of projects that we're working on. And free writing is a great way. The other thing about free writing is because I want to encourage everybody to make music without judgment, okay? There's too much judgment about what we're doing, there's too much kind of this chase for perfectionism, okay, to make things perfect. But really, if we're going to make exciting music, we just have to make a mess and be able to, because a mistake is a hidden intention, isn't it? And when we're running the system that we're doing, this machine system, each part of the creative process is modularized, right? So therefore, any kind of sloppiness or rough edges as we go through and process our music is taken care of. So we don't have to worry about quality in terms of like, are the performances correct, or is the mix correct? Because that is all sorted out appropriately when it's meant to be sorted out. Yeah. What was I talking about? So, free writing, yeah. So there's a book called Accidental Genius, and basically that whole sort of idea is what music splurging is. So simply, we'll have this free write, and I'll say, right, and I'll give you some prompts. I want you to, describe how you imagine your music, right, as an oral audio fantasy. How do you want it to sound, and describe it in detail, and there'll be various prompts that you can write to. And basically what you'll do is you'll feel all the kind of conscious stuff, and then you'll start really pulling out really wild, really interesting ideas that you can explore. This is what will happen. So I highly recommend joining in with the free writing. It would be really important. And if you can't have a pen and paper at the time, I know I'm repeating myself here, please go back to the live and do that, because it's a game changer. It's a battle winner. Absolutely. Right. Okay. So I've talked quite a lot. Does anybody have anything that they want to ask me about what I'm doing with this live channel? I know some of you might have just switched off and gone, oh, I'll make my breakfast. But those of you who've been with me, what do you think? What are your thoughts? And more importantly, what things would you like to happen? You're here, Enzo. Cool. That's all right, Hank. Hopefully you'll watch it back, because I'm just talking about what we're going to be doing, all the cool free stuff that's going to happen on this channel. There's loads up. You'd have to watch back, In terms of guitar playing, though, I've been working on some really cool chromatic stuff. So, which was dead obvious, but not obvious. So I might do a bit of that tomorrow. Oh, and I got an amazing book as well. I had to wait nearly a month for this. I got both of them. This is brilliant. Who's got this book? It's in the library. I mean, a lot of it's quite obvious, but it's been great for reinforcing my knowledge. Especially the page about like diatonically playing arpeggios. So that's been great. Got me thinking. Yeah, I've got the video. It's, oh man, you know that video was, I mean, I was very young when I watched it, and I was at school, and I was like, this is like amazing, I've got to learn to do that. And then the whole sort of economy picking at the time lost me. Until later on. But you see, he talks about, like, I mean, at the video he talks about having an even number of notes to turn your lick round. Oh, look, I knew Enzo would have that book. Oh my God, that's my Bible. My late guitar teacher had me use that in the 90s, and I still use the book. Yeah, so I've got it here, and I thought that's really good. There's a cut, mind you, once you start getting a few books, right, they all sort of say a very sort of similar thing. But the thing about that book is it's got everything you need to know in one place, and it's really super simple. And actually, when you start kind of hearing other people teaching guitar on YouTube and stuff, you can hear like a lot of it's coming from that. We'll expand the membership soon. Excellent. So I'm still wondering if anybody on the Patreon site, if the free option is there. Out of interest. Harmonic extensions and triads is the best takeaway. Yeah. See, that's right up my street. So I really like the way that he's done it diatonically, and I was like, basically, I mean, it's like page 1, right? So he does like, you're doing like 7 arpeggios in fourths. And then when you start extending those by dropping one note, so like, for example, like A minor 7, if you put F in the bass, becomes F9. And then if we're at A, this one becomes D minor 7, becomes B flat 5 7. So you, when you do this, flat 5 7 for 9, then what you're able to do is add in loads of chromatic notes. And just more of that tomorrow. That's what we're doing tomorrow. Oh, Hank, I am an economy picker mostly. I switched to alternate only when I have to. So Gambari stuff is familiar, brilliant. Yeah, so I am an economy picker and have been for the last 2 years. I was very sort of like alternate picking focused back in the day, and I switched later on in my career. And what a learning curve that was. I'll tell you what, it's never too late. It is never too late to completely change your thing. I don't plan out my patterns like he was doing. Right, and this is really interesting, Hank, because I can read between the lines here. I don't plan out my patterns, and I think what you're talking about is that thing about the being able to rotate round. So, like, what Frank does is at the time, and I know this isn't the case now because I heard him talking about it, that he would always want to make sure that whatever he was playing was always pretty much purely economy picking. And that like did my head in. That was like, I don't want to do functional maths when I'm improvising and be playing something and then have to think of 4 notes or 2 notes, and suddenly have to pull out an even number of notes to then go in a different direction. So that really bothered me. And then I realised, sort of like Rick Graham, what he was doing economy picking, is that he's actually doing economy, and then when he needs to switch around, you just use an alternate picking. The caveat and the problem with that, though, is that when you start doing that, is you have to be strong on your inside motion. So you have to, because to rotate something round from economy picking, if you're doing 3 notes per string, and you're just going to go back round those 3 notes and straight back down, then you have to you're going to end up on an inside motion briefly. And certain arpeggios, if you play like 9 arpeggios with economy picking, there's always like a really awkward bit where you're going to have to do alternate picking. So that's and I'll do more. Actually, I'll try and remember about this. We can talk about this tomorrow because I think it's a really interesting thing. But yes, that's so that's interesting that so I'm right with you there, Hank, on I don't like to plan my patterns because you want to be purely like in the moment, and it's a funny thing. But I think probably, at the end of the day, we'll probably take what Frank was saying too literally, and he couldn't possibly have everything just like mathematically like an even number to turn round. Yeah, Rick Graham's great. So... Yeah, no. My teacher made me notate solos in using the concepts in that book way back. Cool. What do you mean transcribe solos? It's the same thing, isn't it? It's a funny word, transcribe, to me. It's like a really old-fashioned word, isn't it? Transcribing. I think it's the scribe bit. I imagine like monks with quill pens writing music on Lindisfarne. But that's probably just my brain. Oh, he made you write solos. Oh, he made you do it. Oh, God, teachers, honestly. But no, that's a good thing that you do it because transcribing is very important, isn't it? I'm very loose with the word transcribe. Yeah. He's my professor. Brilliant. Is it may be a US thing. Transcribing is tabbing. Yeah. Okay. It's just like listening and writing the music down, isn't it? In any form, I think when we're transcribing, I think like just sitting and learning somebody else's solo or a technique, how they're doing it, technically to me is like transcribing. It's just a mental exercise that I'm doing in my brain. I'm not so bothered whether I write it down correctly or not. Writing out tabs, transcribing. All right, that's that cleared up. Thank God for that. Arrange a piece of music for a different instrument, voice, or group of these. Right. Yeah, let's get our terminology right here. Brilliant. So, I've got a little bit of time left. What should we talk about? Any questions? Any questions on free writing? Different definitions, yeah. About 250 miles. That's how far I am from London. I'm in the northeast of England, in Newcastle. Too many questions for the time left. Well, maybe one small question, Enzo. Help me out here. Right. You missed. Look, right. So very quickly, I was just talking about what's happening on the channel. So first thing is I've got a Patreon site now, so you can support the channel for just a measly $4 a month. So that's there. So, but don't worry about it if you don't want to support. Well, you know, obviously, like money, it can be quite difficult at times. But there should be a join free option. Okay, so support the channel for $4. And then there's one other tier, and that's the coaching option, which is $75 for an hour session with me, okay? For coaching, for one-to-one coaching, not a guitar lesson, for a coaching session, right? Okay, so the other thing is that basically on a Monday, that's going to be our focus session. So we get together, and then I'm going to run everybody through various tasks, but primarily the overview of what we're doing is what I call conditions of success. So every month we're going to work in a different area, and the areas are, so like this month we're going to be doing, from Monday we're going to be working on habits, like how to have positive habits, minimum viable commitment in the studio, getting everybody set up and doing and making music if you're not already. Next one will be environment. We'll do decisions, insight, analysis for a month. We'll be working on fear for a month. We'll be working on boredom for a month. We'll be working on boredom for a month. We'll be working on community for a month. And that's how we're going to roll. We're going to have a look at, I'm going to encourage everybody to download Trello. So download Trello, and then we're going to modularize creativity on that board. So we're going to look at divergent, convergent thinking, modularizing it for our music writing. So I'm being very rough here and over the edges, and some people are going, oh, what's he talking about? They've just come on. So that's the other thing. So lots of stuff for free. But as I say, so it's all the kind of free coaching stuff, all the things that I think are like super valuable, that'll get you moving. But the main thing here is that, you know, if you want to join a coaching group, that's there as well. I've dropped the price; it's down to $200 a month. It'd be great to see some of the new people who are on here at some point, like in those groups, making music with me. It's 2 hours a week, is what we when we meet up. Thanks for the tip, hippie. All the way from the crazy, yeah, that's it. Cool. So I think we're about coming to a close. All right, so tomorrow, bring your guitars. we're going to do something. So general guitar chat, guitar lesson. We're going to have a look at something chromatic. I know that. Something that's pretty obvious, but not obvious. That, you know, when you're sort of connecting all these patterns, you discover other patterns that like kind of open up doors in your improvisation. Well, I'm going to be presenting something tomorrow on that. So if we can all meet up then, that would be great with your guitars. If not, it'll be there. No more ninja swords, if you heard. Thanks for another good stream. Thank you, WC. Hide the guitar sabers. All right, guys, I'm off now for my park walk. Have a good one. And if you haven't subscribed, do subscribe. Oh yeah, and some more thumbs up. If I can have some more thumbs up, that would be amazing. UK is banning ninja swords, is it? Oh, just as I was going to get one. All right. See you, everybody. Bye.